Professor Noble, do you know about problems of North Korean defectors' human rights?
I've read some of the books who've been interviewing many North Korean defectors. It makes very, very hard reading. These people have obviously suffered enormously, and I think it's of the utmost importance that we as a world community should reach out towards people in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, to Pyongyang and beyond, to help them to deal with a problem of great humanitarian proportions.
Was it helpful for you to understand the human rights of women and children defectors by looking at the interactive site for the Hullabaloo Choir?
Well, first of all, that website is a fantastic site, and it's also, you know, quite an extraordinary phenomenon. This is a choir that just goes around the world, singing away, a cappella, enjoying themselves, but also doing something very good, because they're highlighting some of the problems of women and children around the world. Worth going to the website because the animations are fantastic.
What should be done to improve North Korean defectors' human rights?
I think with all countries where there have been difficulties on human rights, conditions of life, deprivation, malnutrition, even starvation, the way forward is to reach out to them. I have experience of doing that, particularly with North Korea, because at a recent Congress organized here in the United Kingdom, we were privileged as an international union of physiological sciences to invite two scientists to come from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, that is North Korea, to take part for the first time ever in a Congress. And what that did was to enable two scientists from Pyongyang to see what the rest of the world was doing, to benefit from that, to learn, to also talk to us, because they were able to talk to us about what they were doing to educate their children in science. And we helped them even to give a presentation to the Congress to talk about the teaching of medical science in their universities. I think they benefited enormously. And a very interesting thing that happened afterwards is that the Academy of Sciences in Pyongyang has now applied to become a member of the International Union of Physiological Sciences. So for them too, for their academy in Pyongyang, this kind of contact is very important. And I think this could develop further. If they can send scientists in the future to such congresses, we will see a development very similar to what has happened in other parts of the world where there are difficulties. So the main way forward, I think, is reaching out in this way.
Well, actually, you've done a fantastic thing because you opened the door for them. And I really hope there will be many, many doors to open for them globally. The UN has asked China to treat North Korean defectors as refugees rather than illegal immigrants. What course of action should China take?
I think it's important for all countries to take the view that people who leave a country where they have experienced very bad situation from the point of view of nourishment, very bad situation from the point of view of imprisonment, very bad situation from the point of view of expression of views and opinion, should treat such people as refugees. They are seeking a refuge. That's precisely what they're doing. And it is one of the aims of international organizations like the United Nations to ensure that there are certain rules of international engagement.
How will the conflict between China and Japan affect reunification of the Korean Peninsula and the North Korean human rights?
very, very difficult question to know how the arguments between China and Japan on various islands. But look, first of all, let's make it clear this is not an argument about islands, it's an argument about resources, of course, oil and other valuable materials that, of course, are in the region of those islands. I think a major lesson of history, which certainly we have learnt in Europe with two major world wars which were not wanted originally, is that in many ways things are unpredictable. The shooting of an archduke started the First World War. The problems of expansionism of Germany created the conditions for the Second World War and one of the greatest catastrophes that occurred in Europe. So it's very difficult to predict. One thing one can be certain of, though, and that is it's in the interests both of China and Japan that the problems of the Korean Peninsula should be resolved.
As you mentioned earlier, Hullabaloo Choir will travel around the world to spread the word about North Korean defectors' problems. Would you be interested in it?
You want me to sing? Well, I think it's very interesting to watch what they're doing, but of course their style is very much to involve children in their style of singing. I'm very interested in what they're doing. I like the idea that you should use music in this way, and particularly a choir of children. Whether I could join in, I don't know. They probably wouldn't accept me. I'm probably not good enough singer.
What are your thoughts on North Korean women and their human rights?
I think people have human rights everywhere in the world. They have the right to basic provision. Nobody in society today, given the technology that we have, the possibility of food production, the possibility of curing diseases, nobody should be suffering malnutrition, starvation, and rampant disease. That should be eliminated in the world. There's absolutely no reason why it shouldn't be eliminated. And so the way forward must be to make contact with these countries, help them develop out of a situation where they have lots of people who are malnourished or starving or who don't have the basic human rights of liberty to do the things that they are good at and to, as it were, develop their talents and skills.
Any course of action should Japan take with regard to detainees still inside North Korea and the defectors fleeing the country?
Well, I think it's incumbent upon Japan to regard defectors from North Korea with sympathy and treating them as refugees rather than as in any way people to be sent back to the regime. It's the same rule that should apply to any country receiving refugees from another country. Treat them with respect, understand the problems that they come with, find ways of helping them.
What kind of role should China play in promoting North Korean human rights?
China plays the key role, because if one asks which ally has North Korea, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, got left since the demise of communism in the form in which we knew it in the Soviet Union, China is essentially the only major ally. As the major ally, as the place that receives the leaders of Pyongyang in Beijing from time to time as they travel around on that train to go to Beijing, China plays the key role. There's no solution to the problems of North Korea which do not include the way in which China handles that alliance, that friendship with North Korea.
Professor Noble, thank you very much for this important global issue for Voices from Oxford, University of Oxford.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.